In today's video, I'm going to read from Proverbs chapter 6. And really quickly before the video, if you've been watching consistently, I guess this applies. If you're watching this video in the future, it doesn't really matter. But I know today's video is really late. I've been pretty busy. And just know that if my video is not appearing, it's probably just because I'm not getting around to it. I've been pretty consistent about daily posting, and I really appreciate the views and the comments, and I really love making videos, so I hope you enjoy them. So today's video, chapter 6 of Proverbs, I'm going to read this. It's an interesting part where it talks about verse 16. These 6 things doth the Lord hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. I think it's really cool the way that that's worded. How like, hey, I'm gonna say 6 things that the Lord hate. Wait, never mind. 7 of them, and they're an abomination. I just think that's kind of an interesting way to frame it. And reading the chapter from the beginning, talking about it's really written like advice that a dad is giving to their son, and I think that's really interesting. And this chapter in particular has some interesting things. There, verse 10 mentions, yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. And, you like fold your hands and put your head on them when you're pretending to sleep. I just think that's kind of interesting. And when it talks about a naughty person, verse 12, a naughty person, a wicked man, walketh with a forward mouth. He winketh with his eyes. I've always detested people that wink. It's gross. It comes off to me as really gross when people wink. And this verse mentions this type of person. Winketh with his eyes. He speaketh with his feet. I think that one's really interesting. I know that the Masons have certain feet signs, but then this next one is something that I think is really interesting. He teacheth with his fingers. And that makes me think of the way that all these people use hand signs left and right to communicate openly, and it just goes over a lot of people's heads. And so yeah, today I'm going to read starting at verse, where is it? The 6 things. 16, verse 16. But first, I was going to read chapter 5 because it's Cinco de Mayo. And it was a lot about adultery. And this one also mentions adultery, but then it gets into strange women, or I don't know if that's exactly the word that gets used here, but strange women is a concept that appears a lot in the Bible. And it really does make me think of these turbo MTF celebrities on the world stage that are portrayed as being the most beautiful. And it makes me think of how in times past, maybe some of the pagan cultures had high technology, and these people, the Jewish people, were outside of that, and they were tempted into going to these big cities, and they'd be swooped away into a life of sin. And imagine if societies as disgusting as today's lived in like a smaller setting in times past, where you wouldn't know about it unless you came to the city, and it like blew your mind. Wait, what? You're saying everything's a ball? What's going on? And you're just blinded by technology and just interesting thoughts about old historical things that maybe the people that wrote the Bible didn't understand technology, and so a lot of stuff just didn't get talked about because it was written by people that didn't have access to that stuff. Well, I'm already rambling, but let's get into verse 20, or not verse 20, verse 16. These 6 things doth the Lord hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. A proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood. An art that deviseth wicked imaginations. That one is very interesting. A heart that deviseth wicked imaginations. Just, they really do seem like it's their job. They wake up, how am I going to be evil today? Kind of the trope of the evil mastermind. Like, I want to take over the world. They literally wake up and like imagine what's a new way that I could be wicked today. That is totally the types of people that control this place. There is no limit to their depravity and their wickedness, and it's everywhere, and they will devise the most insane things. Like how could you even think? People ask me those types of questions sometimes, like why would they even do this? What this reminds me of is, why would they lie about this? Why would they lie about that? They don't even need a reason. The lie itself is enough for these people. So I'm going to read 18 again. An heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren. I mean, these people are dime a dozen. People always out there looking for drama and ready to cause strife. I think of these Bapho people. They love to break up normal humans, non-Baphos. And it reminds me of when me and my wife were together. I had this castrati friend that was absolutely disgusting to my wife behind my back, like when I wasn't watching, to the point where I would this is why people talk about gaslighting and stuff, and all this manipulation that these evil people do. Like, some of the stuff was so ridiculous, it was hard for me to believe that this person who's supposed to be my friend is really acting. Like, it makes you think, oh, maybe my girlfriend's just like exaggerating how mean my friend is being to her. And those are the kind of mind games they play. They'll do something so off the wall and outrageous that people won't even believe it. They'll just deny it. Why would I do something that crazy? I imagine if I confronted them about it. Anyway, I don't have a specific example, but I'm sure in the comments people can leave them. Verse 20, my son, keep thy father's commandment and forsake not the law of thy mother. I thought that was a really interesting inclusion, and I've been talking about women in the Bible and how the Bible is actually very pro women. Here it doesn't say one is better than the other. I mean, you might say that they say father first, but I think that they're equal. I don't think that it had to be first here. He doesn't say first follow everything your dad does and then your mom. No. My son, keep thy father's commandment and forsake not the law of thy mother. Maybe you could get into the minutia of the word commandment there, and law, and going back to the Hebrew. I don't know. You could study that, I guess, and try to get into that. But I think that it's an equal thing. Bind them continually upon thine heart, and tie them about thy neck. You know, a saying that I like to say is keeping something in your back pocket. When you have a really good example of something, you want to keep it in your back pocket. He's telling you to, the wisdoms that your mom and your dad passed down, keep it in your back pocket. When thou goest, it shall lead thee. When thou sleepest, it shall keep thee. And when thou awakest, it shall talk with thee. For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light. Reproofs of instruction are the way of life. You know how it seems like the most emotionally stunted people in life are the ones that can't take any sort of criticism. Literally nothing is their fault. That's like the lowest form of I don't know what you want to call it, emotional maturity. When people can't take any sort of instruction or any sort of criticism about, it's they're always right, you know, and if they're wrong, they're a victim, kind of thing. To keep thee from the evil woman. So here, this is just interesting. Strange woman. Down here, I know that other parts of the Bible say strange flesh, don't they? Strange flesh. Here's talking about strange women. So what's going on there? To keep thee from the evil woman, from the flattery of the tongue of a strange woman. Lust not after her beauty in thine heart, neither let her take thee with her eyelids. Like the crazy eye makeup that these people put on. For by means of a whorish woman. I mean, there's a lot to get into here. I do believe that that's not a female trait to be whorish. I think that that is often the Bapho inverted people. And I mean, it is more of a masculine thing to be sexually aggressive. So women that are sexually aggressive like that, usually not super normal. And also, something that I think is really important to transvestigation and Swyer syndrome and castrati, whatever you want to, however you want to frame it, is that they don't get naturally pregnant. And that's why they probably served as temple prostitutes. Swire syndrome do not get naturally pregnant. So being a prostitute it's a lot easier to be a prostitute if you can't get pregnant. I'll just leave it at that. Less hassle, and you don't ever get pregnant. So I mean, I think it's obvious. That one I think is really obvious. How much more convenient, obvious, I don't know how you want to put it, that women that are infertile would be more easily drawn to doing that sort of thing. And yeah. So I'm going to read verse 26 again. For by means of a whorish woman a man is brought to a piece of bread, and the adulteress will hunt for the precious life. You know what? This whole section just reminds me of how many psychotic castrati there are out there that act exactly like this. They're whores, whorish. The MTF are the biggest bundle of sticks out there. It's disgusting, it's shameful. Probably the beginning point of the revolution of transvestigation. The dong swinger MTFs need to stop being giant bundles of sticks and live as men and tell everybody, yeah, we were men the whole time. We're just tucking it. I don't think if that just needs to happen first. It's also the most obvious to see with your eyes. You know, get into the Free Martin thing later. But these whorish, strange women, they're all over the TV screen today. And yeah, they'll hook a martin, drain them for all they're worth, and then kick them to the curb. Or who knows, maybe worse in some scenarios. Can a man take fire in his bosom and his clothes not be burned? Can one go upon hot coals and his feet not be burned? So he that goeth into his neighbor's wife, whosoever toucheth her, shall not be innocent. So this is something that I think is really important, that I don't think that multiple wives is supported at all, and adultery is talked about a lot in the Bible as not being an okay thing. I guess it would be interesting to study multiple wives in the Bible, what the contexts are that comes up, but I don't think that God's people were ever meant to have more than one man, one wife. I mean, I guess I'll just throw it out here that, yeah, there are a lot of, women out there that give no care for if a man is married. That might make them go after them even more if they find out that they're married. Men do not despise a thief if he steal to satisfy his soul when he is hungry, but if he be found, he shall restore sevenfold, he shall give all the substance of his house. But whoso committeth adultery with a woman lacketh understanding. He that doeth it destroyeth his own soul. A wound and dishonor shall he get, and his reproach shall not be wiped away. For jealousy is the rage of a man, therefore he will not spare in the day of vengeance. He will not regard any ransom, neither will he rest content, though thou givest many gifts. I don't know, this is kind of interesting at the end. It turns it into being about adultery and talking about another man's wife, but what is going on here with the strange woman? Flattery of the tongue of a strange woman. I think that there's something here to the idea of, what is it called, Rumspringa or whatever, what the Amish people do. I think that maybe that's been around kind of forever, that the Bible was written by like Amish type people, and they could gain access to cities like the Amish don't have power, but they could go off to some Nephilim place and have their mind blown and be led away by strange women who they were probably doing this inversion stuff all very quickly, the Nephilim. And as far as I can tell, all throughout whatever recorded history, it's inverts all the way down throughout history. So I think the Nephilim were probably pretty quick with establishing the genetic stuff that we're living in today, whatever you want to call it, eugenics program. So yeah, some other things that came to mind. is it the Book of Jasher that talks about mixing of animals and strange genetic things going on around the time of Noah? There's nothing new under the sun. So keep that in mind. A lot of times, modern medicine, it's like a, what do you call that? Where just the name itself is trying to spellcraft. That's not the word I was looking for, but it's like front-loaded. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Calling it modern medicine, your mind has to automatically assume that it's modern and it's never existed before. And really, they just make everything shiny and smell like rubbing alcohol. But what are they doing? They're like slicing people open. Okay, I will say that recently it's gotten kind of crazy with like the robotics, and like they blow up people's chest cavity and with a bunch of air and like use robots and stuff. Okay, I will say that's pretty cool, but who knows? Maybe I really think that there's nothing new under the sun. That there's been at least one civilization in times past that was to this level and beyond. And but at the heart of medical stuff, what are they doing a lot of times besides slicing and dicing or handing you some sort of alchemical concoction that a lot of times it's a mistake that they find out that a drug does something. They take this alchemical thing and they're like, I think it's going to do this because it's similar to those types of things. And then they find out that they made the new Viagra or whatever. What was one other thing? Oh yeah, I was studying, who knows? I was going through Wikipedia on Monsanto type stuff and soybean, the genetically. Did you guys know that they use a literal gun to do weird genetic things? There's an air-powered gun that they use. It's like an air-powered gun shoots onto it's like a piece of gold that has genetic material on it, and it shoots through a screen and it blasts into whatever material you're trying to, and it's mechanical. I would have assumed that anything like that would have to be, I don't know, some sort of weird chemistry thing, but you can do genetic manipulation mechanically with a gun. You literally have a gun shoot genetic material into whatever you're trying to manipulate. How crazy is that? Gene gun. Why have I never heard of this before? But it blew my mind that it's mechanical, that they're taking genetic information and blasting it into... To give you an example, you would take soybean genetic material, I guess, and then blast it. You would take the genes that you want to put into the soybean and put it on the gold leaf, and then literally you're using an air-powered gun to shoot the gun, blasting the genetic material into the cells. That's crazy and mechanical. That blew my mind. But I'm just trying to say that we don't know what's been around before. If you can take a gun and shoot genes into something to make genetically modified organisms, who's to say that somebody didn't do that thousands of years ago and it's just been lost to time? But I think they very much know what has been done in the past, and it's gate-kept and held in private library collections. Who knows where? Probably underground somewhere. I'm really rambling. Hope you enjoyed this video. God bless everyone.